Netflix makes $1,234 every single second. But here's the crazy part. They also spend about $540 every second on content alone. This video breaks down where that gap comes from and how they've turned it into billions in profit. To understand the profit, you have to understand the trap. Streaming is a hamster wheel. If Netflix stops making shows, you cancel your subscription. If you cancel, they have no money to make shows. This is why they spend $17 billion a year on content. But Netflix treats that spending differently than you or I would. When they drop $200 million on a season of The Crown, they don't count that as money lost today. They view it like buying a house. It's an asset. They spread that cost over 3 or 4 years on their balance sheet. They are betting that The Crown will keep you subscribed not just this month, but for years. For years, they rented other people's houses, shows like Friends and The Office. But when studios like Disney took those back, Netflix was forced to build their own mansions. And that brings us to the first engine of their profit machine, the freeloader flip. Netflix has 300 million subscribers, but they aren't all equal. A user in New York pays about $17. A user in India pays about $4. This looks like a bad deal, right? Wrong. This is their secret weapon. It's called geographic arbitrage. Look at Squid Game. This show is the perfect example of Netflix's cheat code. It cost just $21 million to make. That is nothing in Hollywood. A season of Stranger Things cost 10 times that. Why so cheap? Because it was made in South Korea, where production is high quality but lower cost. But here is the magic. They paid local prices to make it, but they sold it to a global audience. Squid Game generated nearly $1 billion in impact value. They turned a $21 million investment into a billion-dollar asset. That is a return on investment that Wall Street dreams about. But Squid Game was a hit. What about the flops? This is where Netflix has a competitive moat that Disney and Paramount can't cross. Netflix doesn't just know what you watch. They know when you pause. They know if you watch 10 minutes of a movie and quit. They know if you watch thrillers on Tuesdays but comedies on Saturdays. They have 15 years of this data across 190 countries. This allows them to do something traditional TV can't. They can predict the future. They knew House of Cards would work before they filmed a single frame because they knew you liked David Fincher, the director, and you liked Kevin Spacey, the star. Disney has box office data. That tells them who bought a ticket. Netflix has behavioral data. That tells you who you are. This is why competitors are dying. When Disney Plus launches in a new country, they're building roads from scratch. When Netflix launches, they're just driving new cars on a highway they built a decade ago. But subscriptions have a ceiling. Everyone in America who wants Netflix already has Netflix. So how do they keep growing? They did the two things they swore they never would. 1. The ad tier. For years, executives said ads would ruin the experience. But then they realized something. An ad tier subscriber generates more revenue per month, subscription plus ad money, than a basic subscriber. It's not a downgrade, it's a gold mine. 2. The crackdown. For a decade, Netflix let you share passwords. It was free marketing. But once they saturated the market, they flipped the switch. They converted millions of freeloaders into paying customers overnight. That is pure profit. They didn't have to make new shows to get those people. They just had to lock the door. So is Netflix invincible? Not quite. They face 3 massive threats. Talent costs. Actors and writers want more money. Stranger Things stars aren't cheap anymore. The bundle. Competitors are teaming up. Disney, Hulu, and Max are starting to bundle together to fight Netflix. And quality control. To feed the machine, Netflix releases a lot of, let's call it, filler. If the quality drops too low, the data won't save them. But here's the bottom line. Netflix won the first phase of the streaming wars because they treated entertainment like a software problem. They solved it with scale, data, and efficiency. While competitors are panicking and cutting costs, Netflix is spending $540 every second because they know exactly how to turn that $540 into $1,234. They turn to creative art into a calculated science. And right now, the formula is working. Which streaming service do you think will be the first to merge or die trying to catch Netflix? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.